I'm a business coach, right? And I'm probably proof of the old adage that, an organization is only as good as its leader. In other words, if you take the last couple of years, the stuff that I've endeavored to do business-wise myself has sensationally better results than the stuff I used to do, call it 10 and 20 and 30 and 40, whatever, years ago, right? And it really all comes back to us, if that makes sense. Robin, I see your message. We're happy to have you on. Look forward to getting to know you more too in general, and having you at one of our events or something like that, right? So, these topics are great ones. When Dave Stefanides and Cassie Cardenas, who you may know well from Orange County Realtors, kind of approached me with these topics, and we've done a bunch of their events down in Laguna Hills and even in Garden Grove over the last couple of years. We've done a bunch of training events because I'm coaching now, nearly 250 realtors, lenders, and folks. Maybe 80% of the people I coach are from, your industry. And so, but it is amazing how everything has to do with you. Everything has to do with you as a leader. The problem almost everybody I encounter has in your industry is nobody knows how to run a freaking business. Okay. So you have realtors, and here's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Are you ready? In fact, when we do events, I have fun because I always tell people I just love bashing on realtors because, man, when it comes to running businesses, they just don't have a clue. And what I always tell people is the reason they don't, it's not their own fault. There is no barrier to entry. So in America, I want you to consider this for a minute. We're the wealthiest country in world history. The number one industry in the wealthiest country in world history happens to be the industry you're in. And it doesn't require crap to get involved in your industry. Pardon my language. Okay, please forgive me, but the test ain't that hard. And it requires no capital up front of any kind. On the other hand, if you want to be a medical doctor, you got to do what? How many years of, and how much in debt are you by the time all of this is done? And then you still need to do your internship and all this. It is a process that weeds out people, but real estate does not. Anybody and their mom can become a realtor, so anybody and their mom becomes a realtor. And it's worse than that. Because commissions are so robust in your industry, everybody and their mom wants to become in this profession, which is why there are a gazillion realtors and most of them suck at it. Pardon my language. And when I mean stink at it, I mean everything about it. They don't know how to run businesses, that's for sure. And most of them aren't even expert at the product or the craft because they're not really there to work on themselves. And who can blame a real estate professional? After all, if two people love you during the course of the year and give you a referral from the family, you just made literally as much in commissions as somebody working full-time 40 hours a week minimum wage somewhere. And how much effort did it take you? So the challenge in your industry is a lack of barriers to entry. So what we're going to get into today is some of the leadership skills. In fact, today's is kind of a really interesting topic. That came out of a conversation with Dave Stefanides, and who you probably know well as one of your fearless leaders. And he was talking about how, he wanted it even catered to the board of Orange County Realtors, as well as the real estate professionals, which is how do we play better with each other? How do we solve or deal with conflict? Do we avoid it? Do we go at it? What do we do with these things? How do we get better results in the process of doing all of these things? How do we run world-class organizations? And so if this topic seems a little out there, I assure you it's really practical. In other words, let me put it more bluntly. If you're a better leader, you make more money, period. Let me give it to you a different way. If you're a better leader, you attract better quality people. If you're a better leader, you deal with things in a different way in your organization, and it gets you on track faster, shorter downturns, and you're just building better organizations with better financial results. So let's just dig right into, shall we? I got about 7 or 8 bullet points I want to cover today. And I want to encourage you, even though we only have Sherry on video here, Rosalind, by the way, works with me. She's my right hand in the business for many years now. I want to encourage you, Darlene, Melanie, Robin, Lily, even if you're not on camera, don't hesitate to type questions in the chat box. Don't hesitate to interrupt me. Just because I'm the teacher in this thing doesn't mean everything I say is right. One of the things I've learned over the years is there is no one size fits all in business. And even though I'm coaching a ridiculous amount of professionals in your industry, right? I just got off a coaching call with a lender down in San Diego that made 3.4 million GCI last year, personally, okay? I mean, I'm working with all these crazy people, even though I do, and I'm very opinionated about what I do right now, or what I believe, it doesn't mean it's all right for you. So your job, and I tell this to people I coach, your job is not to do what I say lock, stock, and barrel. Your job is to filter what I share with you, because I'm only going to share with you the best of what I know, what works for me, right? Your job is to filter and determine what to throw in your tool belt, what to use for you, and what stuff to throw out. And you may love things, test them, and it doesn't work for you. That's all very normal. So let's get into this interesting topic about organizational behavior with Sherry and Robin. If you can stand this for 10 minutes, I want to do a recap of yesterday first. Is that cool? So Melanie, Darlene, Lily, congratulations. You're about to get the condensed Reader's Digest version of yesterday. Let's do it. Number one, and I'm going to kind of do the bullet point version if that's cool. Pretend this is like book summary reviewing my crazy stuff from yesterday. Ready? Number one, an organization is only as good as its leader. John Maxwell, who's written dozens of books on leadership, calls it the law of the lid, L-I-D. An organization is only as good as its leader. Okay. Or I have a relative who used to say, it's an old Jewish expression, the fish stinks from the head. If you have a crappy organization, it's because you got a crappy leader. Okay. If you got an organization that's doing terrifically, bottom line, it likely has a very strong leader. There is a direct correlation between the strength of the leader and the organization. Or how about this? As John Maxwell likes to say, if you're a 6 as a leader, on a scale of 1 to 10, you can only attract 1s through 5s. If you're a 9, and we're not just talking about employees, we're talking about affiliates, we're talking about partners, we're talking about collaborators, we're talking about clients. If let's say you're on the board of Orange County Realtors, we're talking about your teammates, okay? The law of the lid. Let me put it more bluntly, and I hope this doesn't come out as like pride or hubris. That's not my MO for people that know me. That is not my style, but I'm going to say it anyway, and just please take me with a leap of faith anyway. Anything I do in business now has unbelievably more powerful results than it used to be, but it's really because of me. Let's just say I'm a different person than I was 30 years ago, and we'll leave it at that. Fair enough? Okay? In a lot of ways. And it all goes together. So, okay, let's move on. Number one, the law of the lid. Your organization's only good as its leader, which is a challenge for all of us that if we want to even just make more money, we got to be better. Okay, well, in what? Okay, number two, ready? There are 3 great levers in business. And this is what distinguishes you and I, who are running great businesses and organizations, from the salespeople that only do a couple transactions a year, or from the low to mid-level people that really don't belong on a board of directors or whatever. The 3 great levers in business. Now, I just want to mention the bullet point from yesterday was business owners do way more volume, okay? They do. They make way more money because they think like owners, not like operators. An operator is the classic person that says, I'm going to do everything myself. I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm not going to reinvest in my business. Nobody can do it as well as I can. I'm a control freak. I want to look good in front of people. I don't want to ever get rejection. I don't want to see an opt-out. If I get an opt-out, I'm going to stop marketing for the next 16 months. I'm never going to do another marketing message. All that crap is an operator, which is the way most realtors operate. Most realtors would rather seek validation in the form of praise from other people than actually build a business. Because if you were thinking like an owner and wanted to build a business, you're going to get opt-outs and rejection every freaking day in big numbers. But most realtors don't want to deal with that stuff because they're still trying to look good in the eyes of others as opposed to building a great business. In our business, we do so much messaging and direct asks for business and referrals through texting and email and Facebook and Instagram and all these other channels that I'll get into, right? We do so much of that every day we're getting rejected all over the place. We get opt-outs, we get the occasional complaint, all this kind of stuff. And it's because we're doing way more business than everybody else that I'm coaching. Are you with me? Number 2, there are 3 great levers for breakthrough in business, things that will help you break through. Here's what they are, in my opinion. Number 1 by far is coaching and mentoring. And I know I'm a coach, so of course I would say that, but I won't spend all time on the stories from yesterday, but you will never change until you hang out with different people. Please listen to me carefully. If you don't like where you are right now, that ain't going to change because you're going to hang out with the same people. If you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. You've got to hang out with different people. I challenged Sherry and Robin yesterday and the other people on the call, hire 5 coaches today or this week. And they don't even have to be paid. They don't even have to be paid coaches like me. These are all coaches over there. Okay? You've got to change your way of thinking. The only reason things changed for me was because I started hanging out with different people. In fact, I had a personal one-on-one business coach for 2 years named Keith Cunningham, who's a 9-figure net worth guy. That changed everything. Okay. The second great lever in business is people. Leverage through the efforts of other great people. If you're a leader, you're going to hire and attract people that help you move the needle in your business. And you will find that if they're good, if they're great, or even just good, you make more money net. That's the second great lever. And the third great lever is marketing. And you know, what's funny about marketing is there's the paid stuff and the free stuff, and the free stuff usually is more powerful than the paid stuff, but both are good. So the second principle from yesterday, if you want to be a great leader, or if you want to participate in a high performance team, is that there are 3 great levers for breakthrough in business or in an organization. If you're on a board, let's say of a nonprofit, and those 3 are, you need to get coaching and mentoring from different sources so you change your thinking radically and have a different level of appetite and expectation. Number 2 is people. You need to understand that it takes a village to build anything of worth, right? Anything of worth. Do you know one of my clients just yesterday hired Rosalind, who works with me, even though she runs my business with me and for me? One of my clients hired her to coach them, right? You need to be around good people or it's never going to scale, okay? And Sherry and Robin heard this yesterday, and people have trouble believing this. I'm a single coach without any other coaches. I have no desire to develop coaches. It's not my passion. I like teaching. I have 31 people on payroll, 31, including Rosalind, right? It takes a village to scale. And most realtors and most people on boards don't understand that, you know, when you try to do everything yourself and you're a control freak, the only thing you're showing is your lack of knowledge of what it takes to grow an endeavor of any kind, because control is the inverse of growth. Control is the enemy of growth. Okay, your third great lever is marketing, which is not today's topic. Fair enough. Let's move on. The third bullet point from yesterday is that there's a longer journey for you as a leader to grow from being a production-based leader who performs and gets results for yourself, a production-based person, right? Kind of like the realtor that does 12 to 14 transactions all by themselves and they don't hire anybody or whatever, but they get production, right? So a lot of people are in that category of what we call a performance-based leader. But the journey from performance-based leader to people development leader is a longer journey. John Maxwell's great book, The 5 Levels of Leadership, talks about this, going from level 3, the performance-based leader, to level 4, the people development leader. In other words, Melanie, Darlene, Robin, Lily, Sherry, me, Roz, this applies to all of us. If all of our money comes from our own personal production only, we're a level 3 performance-based leader. If we want to grow and make significantly more money or run a significantly better organization of any kind, we're going to have to work through other people, which means there's this really bloody, imperfect, long journey of going from where our income comes 100% from our own production to where little by little, a little of it and a little more of it, and a little more of it comes from the efforts of other people. Or as I shared yesterday in my own coaching business, last month, only about a third, about 35, 40-ish% of my business revenues came from me coaching, which is interesting. It means Roz actually runs a greater percentage of my business than I do now, if that makes any sense, right? I want you to think about that. It's like there's that bloody journey to going to having other people help with things and then making money off the efforts of other people. Or another way to look at it is, instead of you just producing with 100% of your time, now a little bit of your time, and then a little more is being invested in the efforts of other people, recruiting and retaining, and in some cases, developing great talent. Make sense? It's not linear. It's not smooth. It's bloody. Sometimes you hire somebody and they don't work out. Pretty normal. Okay, even for great entrepreneurs, that's fairly normal. And then you got to go back to step one. You got to start developing blah, 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 but that's a process. Okay. But that journey is the great journey of business and life, in my opinion. The journey from selfishness to selflessness, the journey from it's all about you. Now, let me explain this in a better way. If you're a real estate professional, you'll really get this. How much money can you make if you're doing it all yourself? And the answer is, I know that it's like between 100 and 250, 300K, and you're stuck. And more than half the people I privately coach, because I've got a giant coaching roster, I'm personally coaching like 200 plus people. It's crazy. Every week or every other week, it's nonstop Zoom calls, right? Listen to this. More than half of them are between 100 and like 275K. Okay. And it's like, I keep calling that range of performance and income sticky glue. It means you've mastered having a little bit of self-confidence, technical skills, sales skills, people skills, and a work ethic. So you're making some money. You're an operator, but you have no idea how to scale a business. So you're stuck there forever. Your whole body and energy and life and health is consumed in doing your freaking 200K a year or whatever it is, 150K a year or whatever it is, but you have no idea how to scale beyond it. You have no way of getting to 500, 800, a million a year. And because you don't understand that, it takes the efforts of other great people to do that. It's the people. It's no longer about you. It's about building a team that can scale you, if that makes any sense, right? And your problem is your thinking. The only paradigm you know is how to go from point A to point B, which is sweat equity, working harder, doing it yourself, making things happen, being good with people, understanding a little bit about your business, whatever. But now it's a whole different set of skills. How do you work with people? How do you test and scale marketing channels, right? How do you get mentoring so you're building your own personal net worth? Because who gives a crap about the business if you're not building stuff for yourselves and your families outside of the business? Okay, let's keep moving. Number 4 from yesterday. We only did 5, so we're about to wrap up yesterday. The number 4 was the character attributes of winners, according to Jim Collins in his terrific book, Good to Great. Okay. Darlene, you're asking me book again, please. I'll give you 2 books here on this kind of basic leadership topic, both written by John Maxwell. One is called The 5 Levels of Leadership, okay, by John Maxwell, that explains that thing about, and it has all 5 levels, which I won't get into. I did that yesterday, but you can get that from yesterday's video or the book. Nice, simple book. And maybe an even better starter book. Gosh, 5 Levels Leadership is a good place to start for you guys, because if you want to understand where am I in this journey of building a business or an organization, and where do I need to go next? Because I don't know, and nobody's ever taught that. The 5 Levels of Leadership might be the best place to start with that one, actually. If you go on Google and go click on John Maxwell's 5 Levels of Leadership and click on Google Images, you'll see some great little 1-page charts that'll start giving you a very simple flavor and an introduction to, okay, and maybe go listen to him on Audible or buy that book or whatever. It's an easy read, okay? But I love that because it told me and informed me, what's funny is I'm in a different level of leadership in different areas of my life. I thought in my business, I'm sort of this, and with my family life, I'm sort of that. And then, okay, here's where I need to go next. I thought that was a great roadmap. Maybe his best book, if I'm going to spell this right, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, is his bestseller. And he's written several dozen books on leadership. And that one talks about basically the 21 great character attributes that are essential for being a leader. And as he says, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. But it translates financially. You guys know this, you're welcome, Darlene. You guys know this when you're when you hang out with people that are making a lot more money, let's say, in an organization, isn't it obvious that they have greater leadership skills and gifts? There may be things that you don't admire about them, but they do have certain qualities and character attributes that if you modeled it, you do better too. Okay. Let's go with number 5, which we're going to pick up on in a little bit, the DISC assessment and the 4 personality types that some of you have been through, right, before. And we did a deep dive into it. It was kind of fun yesterday on the 4 different personality types and why it takes all of them to build a business and why you're not enough. Or if you're in an organization and you need a team of complementary skills and gifts, let's just do a quickie on the DISC assessment. DISC, it's an acronym. Each letter stands, as many of you already know, each letter stands for a different personality type. Now, all of us have all 4 of them in our makeup, but in different proportions. Fair enough? The D stands for the driver. They are faster paced. They are task oriented. The key word here is they are results oriented. I call them the lions or the sharks. Okay. And again, the example I used yesterday is whether you love him or whether you hate him, I don't care either way. Think Donald Trump as a businessman. Fair enough? He would rather get results even if it stepped on toes. He's very focused on numbers. Still, even as a politician, he was, right? Okay. Melanie put on a strong D. Good. So the driver, oh, Melanie, here's one to entertain you with. You got the D, the driver. You've got the I, okay, and the S and the C. We'll get to those in just a sec. I want you guys to take a guess out of the 4 personality types, in American society and all societies, did you know that the 4 personality types are not equal? In other words, the size of the groups or the population is not the same in each group. There are actually larger and smaller groups. Anyone want to take a guess whether the D, the driver, the faster paced, task-oriented, results-oriented people, anybody want to guess whether that's a large group or a small group or an in-between group? And in case you're curious, it's the smallest of the groups by far. Most studies claim that between 10 and 15% of the population are in this group. Now, one of the things I shared yesterday is that we all need a little more driver in us in order to maximize results as a leader. However, society has kind of made it bad to be a driver. It's thrown out the baby with the bathwater in the last 50, 100 years, where 100 years ago, if you said I'm a sales professional, that was considered an honorable profession. Today, people look at you like, why would you want to do that? What kind of jerk are you? Look, I'm going to say this again. We all need a little more driver in us. We don't need to be the jerk, but we need a little more driver in us and result orientation in order to maximize results. Most of my clients are trying to disguise their driver or avoid it. For example, why aren't they sending out more messages to create more leads to have more appointments with people? Right? Because they don't want to be too pushy. You guys following where this one goes? Okay, let's move on here. The D is the driver. That's one personality type. Okay. The I is the influential. And I know Sherry and Robin, you heard this already, so forgive the recap, but it's not the worst thing in the world to recap here. These people are super social. They are faster paced, but people oriented. They love vision. They love ideas. Every idea is a good idea. In fact, these people, a lot of them are serial entrepreneurs, right? A lot of these high I's, like think Richard Branson of Virgin Airlines, Virgin Records, now Virgin Cruises, Virgin Music, who's always super fun and social on all of his crazy ads and all that kind of mishmash. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, Melanie, I like what you put. That's so true. I don't want to be too controlling. What you want to be, you don't want to be controlling. You want to delegate and create a village of people that have different gifts around you so your business can go really crazy, if that makes sense. And you want to stay in your lane is the idea. So most drivers are really good at lead generation and most drivers are really good at closing deals. But they suck at follow-up. And they're not the best at building relationships and cultivating relationships or being patient listeners, if you get my drift. And they're certainly, some of them are okay at TC work and stuff, but they shouldn't be spending their time there. So it takes a village is what we're trying to say here, okay? Okay, so the influentials, the social, the faster paced, but people-oriented, I call them the dolphins, okay? And Rosalind is a strong, influential social. That's her personality type. She'd like to be talking to people and on Zoom, and she's the one that's been arm twisting me. Let's go back to doing in-person events. So we're doing one May 14th in person in Brea because she can't, it's like for her, it's like, I want to be around people. She's like, COVID or not, well, we'll be careful, I know, but where's the hugs and this is the social, right? Okay, and that skill set is great because she is so good at building our network, if you know what I mean. Okay, then there is the S. The S is the steady. Let me go through these to wrap up quickly. The steadies are relationship oriented. Okay, they are slower paced, but people oriented. These are empathetic. They are listeners. Whoops. That was supposed to say also, that was supposed to say slow, not hellos. Slower paced, people oriented, listeners. I call them the golden retrievers. They are loyal, etc., right? And then the last of the personality types is the conscientious. The conscientious are analytic. They are organized. They're like the accountant, sort of engineering type. They're slower paced and task oriented. Okay, I call them the beavers. They are essential for a business. They are great at process and detail. They're kind of the opposite of the I, the social visionary that loves every idea. The social visionary people who every idea is a good idea, but the execution and detail may not be there. Whereas the conscientious is the detail is there, but they don't have vision. They don't have ideas. The conscientious gets negative and melancholy, some clinicians call them. Okay, let's wrap up this short topic. The last topic we talked about yesterday was the DISC assessment and the 4 personality types. We actually spent some time with our guests yesterday, with Sherry and Robin and several other people, plotting people on the DISC assessment. Where do they stand and what are they strong at naturally and what are they not strong at naturally, right? I'm curious, because we've already done this exercise with Sherry and we've done this exercise with Robin. And Melanie, you say you're a strong driver, right? For Melanie, if you could type in the chat box, I'm curious what your second strongest is. And Lily and Darlene, if you have a guess as to which of those 4 personality types you believe to be your strongest, if you want to type in the chat box, I'll share with you a couple of quick items on that. I'm going to keep moving on in the meantime, but go ahead and type in the chat box if you like. And let's start picking up. If you want me to give you a punchline about the DISC assessment, if I sit down with a business owner for the first time and I'm trying to evaluate them as a leader and understand what are the issues, right? I'll ask them, who are the key people on your team and what roles do they play? And then I plot them on the DISC assessment to see where they stand. And if they're all in the same quadrant, I know I have a shitty leader in front of me, pardon my language, that wants to be around all people like them. When I have somebody whose roles, they plot them all around or whatever, if you will, right? I know that they're type of person that can handle different personality types and value the other personality types and areas of giftedness. Okay, so Melanie put that her second is a C, even though she's super social also, which means her weakest Melanie will be the sort of relationship owner, patient, listener, empathetic S, if you will, right? So with Melanie, the challenge is keep getting results like she's doing, get help with somebody else doing follow-up, because that's not going to be in her sweet spot. The follow-up is more like the SC, slower paced people who is a listener mixed with slower paced task, somebody that will it's almost like the tortoise and the hare, where Melanie, and by the way, Darlene, you as well, since you put D, you guys are the hares, right? You want to make things happen, get things done, and you have a faster pace about it. But we also need the tortoises on our team. You know why? Because the listener, the S, who's relationship oriented, mixed, who's also a strong task oriented, organized C, are great at follow-up, and you're not. And here's the deal. Are you ready? 90% of sales in all professions, including real estate, 90% of sales occur on the 4th through 12th contact. Did you know, you want to write that one down? If you're taking notes, you might want to write that down. If you're not taking notes, you might want to write that down. 90% of sales occur on the 4th through 12th contact. You know what that means? It means the D, the driver, who naturally feels confident about getting leads and closing deals and feels like they're maximizing business and always doing a lot of business, they're not. They're missing deals because they suck at database and social media and all that fun stuff. Are you with me? Lily just put S and a bit C. So Lily is relational and task oriented. So Lily, what we need to do is it's almost like peanut butter and chocolate, right? We got to take you and Melanie or you and Darlene and glob you guys together to go build a business together and you'd be amazing. Are you with me? Because where Melanie or Darlene would be out if I'm just talking realtor for a minute, obviously if you're in a nonprofit board, for example, it's a different dynamic, but you still need the different personality types to make it an effective board. Oh, here's a funny one for you. So you need an SC or a CS for follow-up. because they will do the 12 touches with every lead, and they'll clean up the deals that you didn't get. Does that make sense? Also, you'll need somebody who's an IS or SI, right? I can't stand the follow-up. I love it. The I is the social people, faster pace, and the S is the slower pace people, listener. What if you're just in that people sweet spot of IS or SI? You'd make a great buyer's agent, right? You're not like a driver who gets leads and closes deals, but at cultivating relationships, if Melanie or Darlene, for example, I'm just using the realtor example, were a team leader or something like that, or just a producer, and you got somebody working directly with you on your own personal production who was doing the showings, who was an IS or SI, they probably would never want to leave your team and start their own team anyway, because they're not good at getting leads and closing deals. They're not the driver you are, but they're amazing if they take care of your people with you and for you and help you build relationships, right? Rosalind is a very, very high I, and her S and D are pretty close to each other. Maybe the S is slightly stronger, but it's close, right? So I actually have people that think I'm super social and great with people, even though I'm not naturally. Just because Roz works with me, she makes, do you understand how that works? So she rubs off on me because I'm spending a lot of time with her. It's almost like coaching and mentoring. But also people see us together and they project differently or see the projection differently. Got it? Okay, what if you're Lily, what if you're an SC or CS? Well, you might want to pay for lead. Let's say you're a real estate professional, just to use that as an argument, for argument's sake. You might want to pay for lead generation because it's not up your sweet spot. You may want to sign up for Zillow Flex and Redfin and Opcity and Home Light and all these different free lead companies, by the way, that you pay after the close just to have a lead flow coming in. Does that make sense? Okay. Darlene you put having trouble finding SI team members who don't give up after a few rejections, open houses, and calls. Got it. So, when you have somebody who's SI or IS, now let's talk about that for a minute. You ready, Darlene? I'm guessing, and I could be wrong on this one, a lot of times they quit is because they don't have a salary. Realtors do something I think is really stupid. They hire people and they say, I'll give you a percentage if something closes. Okay. But the problem is these are people that are not lead generators and closers. So they're more salary based in type, in personality type. Does that make sense? So if you're going to pay, in case you guys are curious, I tell all my private coaching clients, because all my clients think the same way. They think like realtors who don't understand how to run a business. They think like operators who never want to reinvest anything in their business. They don't think like owners. Even most of my clients, even the ones that do good volume. So a lot of them will say, because I spend a lot of time on leverage and delegation, which we are going to talk about a little bit today and a lot on the 22nd. Leverage, because remember, the second greatest lever, in my opinion, is leverage through other people. So now everybody's like, oh, great. Well, I only did 5 deals last year. When should I start levering? And I'm like, you should have started levering when you got your first close. Oh, easy for you to say, but I don't have a lot of money. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. People tell me. I'm like, I didn't say you're supposed to spend $6,000 a month on a full-time executive admin like Gary Keller or Tom Ferry says, which I don't agree with at all, by the way. You can hire, as we talked about yesterday, for single task only and just spend a couple $100 a month and still get a rock star who has a full-time job and takes care of kids but wants some extra money on the side. The whole world opens up to you in terms of talent if you do hire by single task only. So, for example, the nice thing about someone to do showings, for example, Darlene, or, open houses or whatever it is, like, buyer's agent-ish type stuff as an example, right? The really cool thing about that is it's not necessarily a full-time job, right? But I tell people always pay a salary. It doesn't matter if it's part-time. It doesn't matter if it's a small dollar amount, but pay flat dollar amounts. And then people say, you know what? Then they come back to me and they go, okay, and maybe I'll give them X percentage per close. And I'm like, no, why? It's your lead, it's your relationship, it's your business. You're the business owner. Don't give away equity or stock in your business. You guys are going to find this a little weird, but I'm always arguing and debating about this with my own clients, even strong ones. Don't give away 50% of your deal to a buyer's agent. Why would you do that? Who came up with that stupid idea in your industry? But that idea is everywhere in your industry. It's common practice. But why would you do it? It's your lead, it's your close. You're a business owner. You're supposed to lever through the efforts of other people to maximize profitability. I'm not saying underpay them. But what I'm saying is I like a flat rate, either per showing or per month or whatever, but you get all the upside. You're the owner. Are you with me? I'm not making this up. I actually have realtors that are paying $15 an hour, $25 a showing, $50 a showing, and these are high volume people. I got one at the Keller Williams Beverly Hills office doing that with somebody where he's paying them $25 or $50 per showing now, right? It's his deal. Why is he going to go give away his ridiculous commission on the whatever, right? Okay. Is there anyone doing this that we can chat with? Yeah, I can give you a few names here. In fact, Darlene, if you guys want, let me give you, this is my cell number. Just text me and I'll give you a couple names, and even if you like, phone numbers, and you can reach out to them and say I encouraged it, because my coaching community is very transparent. You want to have here's a funny laugh for you. You guys want to hear something funny? I share stuff that my people are doing with everybody I coach. And if somebody tells me, David, I'd rather you don't share this, this particular thing since I discovered like a great marketing channel or whatever, I tell them, okay, no problem. I won't share it with anyone. And then I will never share anything with you ever again either. You guys get my point? Don't you dare coach with me if you don't want to share everything with everybody and have me share everything with you. I have no interest in that. It's funny. You can share everything with everybody. They ain't going to do it anyway. It's part of the problem, of course, in life and in business. But the truth is there's nothing magical about anything here. Darlene, just to encourage you here, I have a very strong attitude about the competition. Are you ready? Most people teach, study the competition. I strongly, naturally, if you've already figured me out in 30 minutes or whatever, I strongly believe the opposite. Don't pay attention to the competition. When I start doing my coaching, everybody's like, when are you going to get other coaches, Dave? Like, Mike or Tom or those guys. And I'm like, I have no desire to do that crap. I don't care what they do. Somebody told me in the beginning, hey, Dave, you love coaching or whatever. And my background's not real estate, even though the last 8 years I've been hanging out with your industry almost, like 80% of my time, which is crazy, right? And so people are always telling me, hey, why don't you do like what, why don't you become a, who coach? I'm like, I don't want to. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but I'm not interested in what anybody else ever does. And when I work with realtors, I don't care what other realtors do. It's irrelevant. What does it have to do with you? You're building your business and your life. Make sense? So here's another thing for you. I don't like doing variable compensation for people. For example, you hire somebody to do follow-up for you, to call your database. And you're thinking, I'm going to do it on the cheap because I'm cheap in general and I live paycheck to paycheck and I don't know how to run a business and I don't want to reinvest. So I'm only going to pay them, but I'll pay them a good amount when the deal closes. And then, of course, they quit on you within less than 30 days. That has never, ever worked for more than whatever, a month or two. I've never, ever seen it work once. Why? Because that's not what they're looking for. You are an entrepreneur. You own your business, Sherry, Darlene, Melanie, Lily, Robin, even Roz and myself. Right? But that is different. They are not. Does that make sense? And the beautiful thing about that is if you do a flat compensation, you'll get the upside as a business owner and they won't leave you either. Does that make sense? Now, Melanie, Darlene, this is going to be very important for you as drivers, okay? As Ds on the DISC assessment. Every driver I know says the same thing. How do I hire great talent? Where's all the great talent? They never stick with me. They're going to start their own team. Of course, they'll start their own team if they're a primary driver, wouldn't you? Which is why you want to find the complementary personality types to fill the roles in your super team. Is that making any sense at all? I'm not saying you can't find a mentor or a mentee, I should say, who's like you, that wants to learn the business from you and admires you and wants to stay with you. And there are ways to keep those great people. Which we are likely going to do a quick repeat on today. Okay. But let's continue. Roz, if you could maybe put your contact info in there for Sherry. Just reach out to either one of us for anything. Don't we're not like billable rate attorneys, if you know. People reach out to us that aren't even paying us for stuff and we're constantly helping. We don't care.
No worries.
Okay. Which is part of the reason we were able to build such a large whatever organization, right? And Melanie, really, yeah. Yeah, Darlene, you're a broker looking to hire drivers and teams. Excellent. Love it. Good, Darlene. Love it. Your name sounds familiar too, Darlene. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if we met in an OCAR thing. I guess I'm supposed to say OCR, not OCAR, right? Okay, let's keep rolling here. The DISC assessment, if you guys haven't figured it out now, right? You go by D Summers? Is that because no, I'm just kidding. Good. Love it. Love it, Darlene. Do you guys realize the power of the DISC assessment and how useful it is in a lot of different regards for determining what you need to get better at and what you need to attract and recruit? Fits big on signs. I like it. So we'll come back to that topic. Let's move on to new topics. Organizational behavior. Are you ready? We've got a good chunk of time to work on a few new topics here. And don't hesitate typing in questions, into the chat box, interrupting, backtracking. I don't care. I'm good. Okay. Next one, organizational behavior. How do you create great culture where people play together well and it maximizes results? Now, what if you don't have a team? What if you're just a realtor and you don't have a team? I don't care. You still got lender, you still got escrow, you still got title, you still got transaction coordinator, you still got a broker in your office. You still have a team, okay? Okay, here we go. Bullet point number 1 for today. Great teams have great chemistry. No, they don't. Are you interested in this topic now? I have too much fun making fun of everything that everybody teaches. Popular teaching is usually bullshit. Pardon my language. I shouldn't have said that on video here for Orange County Realtors, but here we go. Are you ready? There's a great, great book that I don't know that I strongly recommend it be your first read. Maybe you want to do it as a book on tape when you're driving around just because it's so interesting. I have no idea. There's a couple of things in there that might be practical for you, but it's more of a fun and interesting read about business. And it's called Top Dog by Poe Bronson and Ashley Merriman, if I'm spelling it right. Top Dog. In fact, it's called Top Dog, The Science of Winning and Losing. And it has all kinds of crazy studies about business. And little weird things you ought to know that will impact your results. Let me give you one cheesy example. Are you guys ready? There's a chapter on the home court advantage and how it actually does matter in sports and in business. So that if you're meeting people on your home court, you negotiate better deals, you close more deals, all that kind of stuff. So now you real estate professional are thinking, great, how does that help me? I always go to their house for the listing presentation or whatever. Okay. Now, a couple things for you, just to give you an example. It says, number 1, if you meet on your turf, it's best. If you meet on neutral turf, it's in the middle. And if you meet on their turf, it's, the least effective. But some of you are saying, yeah, but I go to their house all the time and I still close deals. Good. But there are other things in there about how can you create an artificial home court advantage, even if you're not on your home court. For example, even if you go meet them on their home court or in a neutral site, if you show up 5 to 10 minutes early, you've gained home court advantage because you're there a few minutes before them. And literally it helps you in your negotiations and your close rates. Let me give you another example. And this is one of our favorites that Rosalind is really good at. When you sell 2-on-1 or 3-on-1, your close rate is way higher. What does that mean? It means, real estate professional, if you go to a listing appointment with your lender, well, not that you need a lender for a listing, so that's a bad example, but if you go with people to a sales presentation who are somewhat capable, right? I'm not talking about a newbie who doesn't know what they're talking about, but when you sell 2-on-1, the close rate's much more effective. Can I give you guys a cheesy example? It's kind of weird for me to share this openly just because we're getting to know each other, but I don't care. Here we go. Ready? If one of you says you're interested in one of our products, for example, let's just say it's like we do virtual assistant as a product for real, right? Like you can hire virtual assistants through us because we do it all the time, even for my own coaching clients, right? Or if you want to have us do your database and social media marketing for you, which we do for 400 realtors now, by the way, right? No kidding. We have a team of people that do it for us, for me and for them, right? Actually, you get one of our rock stars. Anyway, let's say you say, I'm interested in all that database and social media stuff. And you talk to Roz about it, right? I want to learn more about this thing where you do my database, social media, and lead generation for me through my database and social media or whatever, right? You'll notice something really comical about how we do it. Roz will schedule an appointment with you on Zoom because we always do face-to-face only, right? Because face-to-face is more effective than phone. Hint, 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 especially for lenders out there that screw this one up a lot, right? And Roz will almost never be on that alone. She'll have somebody else, if not 2 people sometimes I've seen from our team on there with her. For example, let's say you want to do this marketing thing with program with us. Well, we have two really great rock stars on our team who do it for me. One of them her name is Shavita Pal. She's in Northern India. And another guy on our team, David Van Eman, who lives in South Carolina. They're both really strong, right? And they've both been on our team for a couple of years, and we love them, right? Roz would actually get on the Zoom call with you, with Shavita, or with David. So basically it's, for example, Lily, I'm just making this up, Lily's interested in this product. Roz is introducing Lily on Zoom to Shavita in India, who's going to be Lily's direct person for this whole program. And Roz might even have a third person, Amani, who's on our team. And Amani's kind of like our customer service-ish gal who's sort of involved in things like, this is an exact picture, like Roz with a potential client. Now, listen to me carefully on this. Roz, you can share this with me because I don't even know the numbers. On 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 Zooms over the last 60 days, how many do you think you've done and what do you think the close rate has been, roughly?
I've done about, 25, I would say, ballpark. And the close rate was about 90%.
Is that insane?
Just by having people on Zoom. So it's been really cool. And I think because myself and my other team member, are on our team, they share their ideas. And because she's interacting with our clients, and they're also, everybody just wants to know what's working, what's not working. And so, like we said, we're an open book and we're sharing. And, it's very casual.
And the client, let's say it's Lily as an example, and Lily gets to meet the person she's going to work with. Does that make sense? It's not like we have this hidden team somewhere. We don't even have that.
You have direct contact. We send a group text before we get off, so everybody has each other's contact information. So I think with that's like a whole, knowing that we're all on your team, and it's more of like, I wouldn't say trust, but it's definitely building relationships that way.
But then you guys go out and do all your selling one-on-one. And then you're complaining, like my clients are complaining to me, man, it's hard to get buyers' offers accepted. And the market's a little different. I'm like, well, there are two things missing from you, two reasons why you're not getting them accepted. One is you're selling alone. So you're stacking the odds against you. Like even in a healthy market, what percentage of your buyers' offers get accepted? And maybe, I don't know, whatever the number is. I'm just telling you, even a good market, your number's too low. Mm-hmm. Because you're not applying the principles of leadership. It takes a village, people, to build the best results. David Elston is a realtor at Cal American Homes out in Claremont. I've been coaching David since 2015. He did 34 sides last year. He's on pace to do slightly more this year so far. Okay. David gives me a whole list of things I'm asking David, why did you get 4 buyers' offers accepted in March that led to March closings when everybody else is complaining about working with buyers? And he gives me a whole list of things that he's doing. If you guys want, I'll share it with you before we get off the call here or whatever, right? But one of them is he does Zoom calls with the clients with his lender, always on. So anyway, let's go back to this book, Robin. I'm happy you mentioned the thing about Top Dog. So this book has a bunch of crazy stuff like home court advantage or whatever. So one of the other concepts in the book is, one of the things it talks about is great teams have great chemistry, right? No. So you watch sporting events and then you see somebody win a championship. And you're hearing all this stuff about how we're like a family and we have an amazing family and we have great chemistry and all this. Studies prove that that's definitely not true. So let's talk about what the heck we're talking today about organizational behavior, remember, right? How do you operate the best business or work with a team or on a board or whatever in the best possible way? Great teams have great chemistry. The answer is no. So what the heck does this really mean? What do they have? Are you ready? I'm going to give you 4 strong recommendations. Number 1, they have mutual appreciation. Oh, real quick on the thing about great teams have great chemistry. No, studies prove that they fight like cats and dogs, like brothers and sisters, like crazy. They argue constantly. Great championship teams argue a lot. Okay, but they have a few things. And incidentally, this is a topic I'm going to come back to in a minute, which is conflict and arguing and dealing with conflict, right? Like underwriters. Okay, what they do have, number 1, mutual appreciation and respect. This is why I like to spend a lot of time on the DISC assessment. Melanie and Darlene, I'm just going to use you guys as examples because of the driver on the DISC. your business will go bonkers in the next 2-3 years with a greater appreciation for the other personality types. I'm talking about for personal production, let's see, right? Like, Darlene, let's say you want to attract agents. Well, you might want to have a very high I as your recruiter, a social, a visionary with energy as a recruiter. Most real estate brokers have crappy office managers. They want somebody who can both help their agents with contracts and details and then also recruit. How stupid is that if you think about the DISC assessment? You want somebody who's a high C on the DISC assessment, who's good with details and contracts, to also be a high I who's social for recruiting? There are occasionally people that are good in both gifts, but it's rare. Now you guys starting to understand the problem? The more you appreciate the DISC assessment, the more you'll appreciate the different personality types. Yeah, Melanie, it is true. How about in our intimate relationships? I'm a driver like Melanie and Darlene, like you guys are. That's my first and primary, right? Guess what my wife of, almost 20 years is? The S, the steady, the listener, the empathetic, which is kind of the opposite of the driver, right? So real quick, let me talk to you about appreciation and respect from a marriage perspective. And don't worry, I'm only going to share marriage because I'm sure all of you guys get this one. This doesn't just relate to your intimate stuff. Listen to this one. Yeah, Melanie, good. It's funny how that works, right? Listen to this one. So when I dated my wife, right, the polarity was spectacular, right? I mean, the polarity, the differences were what made it, attractive, strongly attractive. That's where the fireworks were, the differences between us, right? Like, she was a strong woman of faith. And at the time I was kind of like, I didn't care about that stuff at all. I was like, honestly, I go on I hate to say this. I shouldn't even say this on public calls. I go on my first date with her, true story. And she's talking about her faith and her faith and her faith. And my first thought at the time, I mean, we all change over the years and we're all different. And I'm not trying to impose my values on you. Whatever you believe, I honor you. Make sense? But I'll just share this openly. It's a great example of DISC assessment. The first thing I thought was, at least she's pretty. I mean, honestly, that's what I thought at the time, right? Here we are 20 years later. She's more like me. I'm more like her. But here was the tough journey. Are you ready? When we're dating, there's polarity and fireworks because we're so freaking different from each other, right? Her family is all over the place and everything and everybody and get-togethers, and I'm like the Lone Ranger or whatever. Okay, then we get married. And Melanie, be careful of this one. Are you ready? Then we get married and we start taking each other for granted. And suddenly the polarity becomes a point of friction, not a point of gift. In other words, why couldn't she be more like me? And she's thinking, why couldn't he be more like me? What attracted us, this same exact stuff that attracted us to each other, became the point of friction when we got comfortable around each other after marriage. Are you with me? And boy, did I sabotage the marriage in the beginning. We have a long story and a tough journey. Somehow, miraculously, we stuck with it, stuck together, and we're in a completely different place, right? Do you know what changed? I don't know how this happened. I don't know why this happened. It's all pretty miraculous in my eyes at this point, but a couple of years in this thing, something just hit me. And I went to Tony Robbins' event on Date with Destiny that had some interesting sort of takeaways on Relate. Anyway, but something hit me. I realized she's perfect exactly as she is. And I don't know how I got there. I don't know what changed. I don't know where. I don't remember, right? Yeah, maybe so, Melanie, right? But for some reason, I started realizing, no, that's what I love about her. And I noticed that when I started pressing into that, she started responding in kind. Does that make sense? We are super different people. And it works because we're complementary. She gives me that which I need desperately. And hopefully, presumably, I give her some, cool. But do you understand the connection with business now? Great teams have lots of friction and even argument stuff. Now, the style of arguments, I'm not saying whether you yell and scream or this or that. I can give you some different examples of this that are all over the map that still work somehow, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is there's friction. There's always friction. There's debate. There's disagreement. It never stops. One thing we do better than ever before, let's talk about this one right now, actually. There is another great book that's kind of a parable of a book. So maybe you want to just get this one on Audible sometime when you're bored and driving around. Written by Patrick Lencioni, called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Okay. And here's my one-sentence book report. I'm sure if he was in the room, he would be horrified and tell me this is not exactly it and you're messing my book up. But here we go. Ready? He teaches this. And I'm going to repeat this 2 or 3 times so you can write this down. This is really important. An organization that cycles through conflict faster grows faster. Let me do that one a few times. An organization that cycles through conflict faster grows faster. Darlene, forgive my eyes for wandering up to your note about flat fee for agents they recruit. Hold that thought. Ask me about it again later if you don't mind, just so I can keep in this flow. But I will help you with that one because or throw you on that one because it's kind of an interesting question that brings up some other stuff. So maybe at some point, if you can remind me before we hop off, I'll make sure to leave some margin of time near the end here so we have time to just do whatever you guys want to do here. Okay, let's go to this one, the Lencioni one. An organization, or let's get more personal here, guys. Ready? You and I, if we cycle through conflict faster, we grow faster. Here's our problem. Are you ready? For you, for me, for everybody on this call? We avoid conflict, and that F's up everything. It crushes our results. It slows down everything. We take way too long to get to problems. We take way too long to eat the elephant. We take way too long to close transactions. We take way too long to do everything because we screw up relationships. We let things build up because we don't tackle them. We avoid things. We don't do what we should do, which is tackle them sooner than you ever possibly imagine. Because when you tackle them sooner, you diffuse the emotion around it. If you let that thing fester and fester and fester like all of us do, you turn a molehill into a mountain. It becomes a major league thing when it never could have been that. Is this making any sense whatsoever? Let me try this in a few different ways for you. The one thing my wife and I do, which is way better, and we're still uncomfortable doing it, is when we have a conflict, we deal with it so much sooner than we used to, right? Okay, we would do our, back in the day, we would do our avoidance thing where like literally we'd go to different rooms and not see each other for 24 hours type crapola. Now it's like we have our own language around stuff like that. Like I find that I can't, this is just me, maybe something wrong with me. I can't deal with conflict in the minute. I need an overnight to sleep it off and come back with a better attitude. So for me, it's really important not to make decisions. I have my 24-hour rule. And then I can come back and do things like, this is what I say to my wife, Martha, now is, listen to this one. And this is important for business too. Hey, hon, I'll say to her something like, please do me a favor. Don't react to what I want to share with you. Don't respond. We don't have to make any decisions on this. I just want to be heard. I just want to share with you how I'm feeling. That's it. That's it. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to solve it. We don't have to do anything. Please don't react. Please don't respond. Please just hear me. Does that make sense? She has her own style. It's different from mine. Okay. And her style of doing it, it used to be, I need to talk to you. And even when she said it nicely, it would be like create this neuroassociation where my blood pressure would go through the roof. And I'm like, I'd be defensive and put up my walls, which didn't work, right? But she's very different about it nowadays also, where she'll literally say, hey, can we talk about something and please don't react or something like this, right? We have our own language. Let me try this one more time. Are you ready? Great teams have great chemistry? No, they don't. But what they do have is mutual appreciation, respect, and the assumption that there's going to be conflicts, but they cycle through conflicts faster. Now, when I started coaching, right, I left my role as a CEO of a database marketing company back in 2013. I'd been running that company for 5-6 years or whatever, and I quit cold turkey. I didn't have any clients lined up. I was dreaming of starting a consulting firm or whatever. Now it looks totally different, 8 years later from what I expected. I had no clients for 3 months, and finally I get my first paying client in April 2014. And he owns a company in Austin, Texas. I still coach him to this day. They're doing unbelievable things, okay? He was interviewed, I'm not making this up, on page 1 of the New York Times just 2 weeks ago. I mean, unbelievable stuff. And this is my first ever coaching client. And most Christmases, I'll go fly down after Christmas to Austin, Texas, to spend 2-3 days with him and the leadership team. And he likes to do, projections for the next year and strategic planning sessions. And he likes me to be there in person for that stuff because we go way back, and Roz even knows him from way back and all this. So I go down to Texas. And 2 years ago, we had a session where they felt like they desperately needed a new product. And they were whiteboarding all this stuff. And I wish you guys were in the room with me. Because if you heard these people, you'd think they're out of their mind. This place is a disaster. They were arguing so loudly. They were saying stuff to each other like, that's freaking stupid. That ain't ever going to. And they're talking like this to each other, all of them, the guys and the gals. It was like listening to literally your brothers and sisters arguing. And the weirdest thing about it of all was like, they didn't care and they all get along great. And they all like are hanging out with each other and laughing in the middle of this stuff. It was like cats and dogs arguing. You know what they do really impressively in their company? Are you ready for the punchline? Way more stuff than we do in a week or in a month. They're unbelievable how much stuff I feel like, and I'm supposed to be the freaking coach. I'm supposed to be the one teaching and modeling for them. And I feel like these people run circles around us. And when I mean that, I mean New York Times article. Now they're like, hey, we have to look how much new business we got because of this one New York Times article. Let's go hire a PR firm, by the way, the article was only like 2.5 weeks ago. So now they hire a PR. We should hire a PR firm, or we should do something like this. Now they're getting interviewed by Newsweek now. That's being set up while they're talking right now, right? And look, all I'm trying to tell you, it's only 2.5 weeks later. They already hired a PR firm. They don't mess around, these people. They're just crazy. They're crazy. They're like, let's make a decision and move on. And they don't always agree with each other, but I hope this is helpful, people. Great teams have great chemistry. Number one, mutual appreciation and respect. Honor the other personality types. Respect them as individuals. Respect them for their gifts, which you don't have. Number two, allow for debate and argument. Number three, space and grace. Give people space to do what they do best and allow them to make mistakes, for Pete's sakes. Remember, operator, realtor who doesn't know how to run a business like a business owner, right? Remember this, control is the inverse of growth. Control is the enemy of growth. Give people space to thrive. I don't know. We get off the Zoom call. I don't know where Roz is going or what she's going to do. Or I don't care. I don't care if she works 2 hours a week. And no, I don't care if she works 400 hours a week. It's her problem. If she can make it so it's easy, great for her. I just there's a certain singular result that we focus on, and that's it. Give people space and grace. If she does things that are wrong, great. So do I. I mean, come on, people. You guys, realtors are great at this, right? They do 12, 15 deals. They don't like to invest in anybody else, but somebody makes them feel guilty like they have to hire an assistant. So they do the stuff they shouldn't do, which is the Tom Ferry, Gary Keller, go spend $6,000 a month on somebody, which I never recommend for anybody. I recommend single task and paying a few $100 and starting a building anyway. But they do this thing, and then they bring somebody on board, and then they're grinding them because they're like, I'm spending all this money. I better get what I need. And they start treating them like crap. All of this doesn't work. Are you with me? Let's keep going. Space and grace. Give them space, give them grace. Let them make mistakes. We have somebody on my team that makes sort of absent-minded mistakes periodically, or will send out messaging with wrong dates and wrong times, and we have to backtrack and apologize to tons of people. It's all right. You do it too. I do it too. Come on, chill. It's just business, for Pete's sake. Okay, next one. Ready? Challenges and trials. Great organizations, the best businesses usually go through the biggest crap. Okay, I don't know if I shared with some of you guys yesterday, but I had a federal criminal investigation that had me as a subject for 2 years, and it cost me a fortune legally, and it was scary. Interesting? It took 2 years for them to downgrade me to witness instead of target, thank God. You want to hear something weird? I would never wish that kind of thing on anyone, but having gone through that, it made me very different afterwards. Not just in terms of sort of conservatism and risk, and being a little more cautious about risk management, all that kind of stuff. But what's really interesting is it gave me a different perspective on life and on business please listen carefully. Everything I deal with that's a problem right now is nothing compared to that. What a different perspective to be able to operate a business through. Very little bothers me now a lot. Does that make sense? Okay. Challenges and trials. I'm going to give you a different weird one on this one. Are you ready? Now, for the next 5 minutes, I ask your permission to go off on a weird professorial tangent, which may be completely ridiculous and off the deep end, and it's just me looking like an absent-minded professor. So forgive me in advance. I hope this isn't too boring or weird. Are you ready? This topic we're going to talk about is, we're talking about challenges and trials, right? And the punchline that I'm going to get to is the greatest challenges and trials are great for you because usually your greatest periods of growth come right after. Here's the weird professorial academic weird example I'm going to use for you that maybe somebody on this call will never forget. Are you ready? True story. There was a Nobel Prize winning biochemist who died 2 decades ago or something by the name of Ilya Prigogine. Ilya Prigogine was a biochemist who won the Nobel Prize for proving something called the theory of dissipative structures, which you don't have to understand or know. Now, if you're wondering why on earth I even care about this or paid attention to this, it's because I listened to this in some weird setting and I thought, wow, this is just like life and business. Let me explain. Prigogine proved that living cellular organisms, even microscopic cellular organisms, under heavy heat and heavy pressure, under heavy heat and pressure, have a tendency to vibrate and expand. Interesting? He proved that cellular organisms, under heavy heat and pressure, vibrate and expand. And with more and more pressure, they continue to vibrate, expand, and pulse until a great breakthrough event occurs. The organism changes and reforms most often as a new molecular structure that is greater in resistance to viruses, bacteria, etc. Okay, I'm sure I explained that poorly. I'm sure I'm off the deep end, but let's roll with this one because I know I got that generally right. Are you ready, people? This is just like us in business and in life. Let me give you where I'm trying to go with this one. Melanie, Lily, Darlene, Robin, Sherry, Roz, me, Elsie, anybody else. Are you ready? This is really important. When you, real estate professional or member of the board of OCR or whatever, when you are under heavy pressure, what is the correct approach for you as a leader? What should you be doing? Are you ready? When you're under heavy pressure and stress, you should be leaning in and applying more heat and pressure. It is the only correct answer for dealing with that situation, which is exactly the opposite of what you do. You avoid, you run away, you go to your TV shows and binge watch Netflix for 3 straight weeks and, eat bonbons in front of the TV set. You do anything to avoid instead of doing what would be spectacular for you. Pressure makes diamonds, Melanie. I love it. Listen to me carefully. And I'm going to give you the real life example. Realtor does, 6 deals, 6 sides in a year, right? Now realtor suddenly has 3 deals in escrow. Realtor is overwhelmed by the 3 deals in escrow. Super common, by the way, right? Now they got problems in escrow, so they start babysitting the frickin' escrows, right? They want to TC their own file. They want a plain loan officer. They're chasing all the docs and disclosures themselves. They're hanging out there. And of course, they stop prospecting entirely for 3 straight months. And what happens naturally, after they close these deals, they have nothing in the pipeline. The volume goes back down for the next 6 months until they get desperate again and leave their cave to go get the next deals. Are you with me? What should they be doing? When an organism is when you, business owner, are under heavy heat or heavy pressure, you should apply more heat and more pressure to achieve breakthrough. How do you do that? Well, I don't know if any of you know this, but I'm very well known for these really silly expressions. These are my mantras, if you will. I say this all the time, and everybody knows me for this weirdness, right? Flood the funnel. Well, let's just start with flood the funnel for a minute. I always say flood the funnel. In fact, my website is floodthefunnel.com, as cheesy as it sounds, right? I love that expression, and most of my clients love that expression because it teaches people to stop being perfectionist and just get out there and throw stuff up against the wall all over the place and watch your business grow. Stop being fearful. Stop being perfectionist. Stop worrying about opt-outs. Just take them out. Stop worrying about rejection. Stop worrying about what this person thinks. Stop worrying about whether you think it's the social media post has the right colors and logos. You know, Rosalind likes to say, when in doubt, just press send, right? This is my attitude about marketing always. Your problem is not, you know, trying to do it the marketing the right way. Your problem is you do no freaking marketing. Right? I literally counsel people to send one text message to every single person in their database every single month, 2 emails to every single person in their database every single month, 1 Facebook Messenger message to every single Facebook friend every single month, 1 Instagram direct message to every single Instagram follower every single month, handwritten notes at a rate of whatever, 1 or 2 or 3 a day, whatever it is, more than you do now. Phone call conversations with past client circle of influence, friends and families, 1 or 2 or 3 a day. Anything, I don't care how many, just more than you used to do before. I love doing email, blah, blah, blah. You guys with me so far? And you do none of it because you're afraid somebody's going to opt out. You send out an email, somebody opts out. You don't want to send an email for 6 months. Flood the funnel. However, there's more to the expression than that, because a lot of people will then flood the funnel and then they don't like the heavy heat and heavy pressure. And what do? They withdraw. You guys with me? Okay. So it's not just flood the funnel. There's a second expression to complete this thought. So my mantra, if you will, is flood the funnel and, are you ready? Embrace the chaos. What do I mean by that? I mean, Melanie, Lily, Darlene, Robin, Sherry, whenever you get to a point where you're like, this is insane, I'm overwhelmed, start celebrating. You've won. You haven't lost, you won. You've successfully flooded the freaking funnel. You're now on to level 2 of the computer game called business. Okay? However, what do you do to continue to apply more pressure and more heat? And the answer is very simple. You need to embrace the chaos. You need to love on the chaos. What do you do with that? What, practically speaking now, what do we do in a business? Are you ready for the answer? You start to hire people to take and peel things off your plate. You put a layer, a floor underneath this new higher volume level. You put a floor underneath it in the form of mostly people and to a lesser degree technology, but much lesser. But you put a floor of it by getting help and so you can keep charging forward. Okay? Okay, good, Darlene. Perfect description of the past year. Energize. It's like breakthrough comes with a price. Are you ready for the price? Imperfection, bloodiness. It comes with breakthrough. You're not supposed to run away from the bloodiness and the imperfection. You're supposed to embrace, listen carefully, imperfection and bloodiness. I'm going to say something that you guys will probably all on the surface disagree with, but I don't care. Here goes. Are you ready? Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, maybe not. Customer service is not your goal. Getting the next new customer is. Shall I repeat that one, kiddos? Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't give our best to every customer. I'm not saying we shouldn't serve them great. But listen to me carefully. When you have no freaking business, your customer service is always an A+. And then when you flood the funnel, guess what happens, kiddos? Suddenly you, who pride yourself on this crap, are no longer an A+. Right? Yeah, Darlene, bloodiness is beautiful, right? You're growing. That's the whole point. I mean, any of the people you admire in business that run unbelievable organizations, what do you think? They have their life and their business in a neat little box with cute blue ribbons tying everything around? No, they're dealing with way more shit than you. Are you with me? Everybody wants to create and own Facebook like Zuckerberg. Now do you want to have to, at least for the last couple of years, show up on Capitol Hill and do all that stuff? I mean, it's not so easy, kiddos. Or antitrust. I'm not saying love him or hate him or whatever. I don't care. But just as an example. Okay, let's go back to this one. You've got to, when you break through, there's going to be bloodiness. There's imperfection. Your customer service is no longer an A+. Now it's not even an A. You're like, oh crap, it's like it's not even an A minus, it's like a B plus now. Maybe it's a B. Holy moly, there are leads coming in and I'm not even getting into them like I used to. Holy moly, there's like files and escrow. I don't even know what's going on with them exactly in the last 2-3 days. Holy moly, all hell's breaking loose. And you have to resist the temptation to take your foot off the gas pedal. You have to resist the temptation to go binge watch Netflix and eat bonbons. Are you with me? You have to, all you have to do, it's pretty simple. Ready? Identify that you've just scored a major victory. Okay, well, keep eating the bonbons then. But identify the flooding as a victory. And here's the next step. Are you ready? You're going to peel off single task by single task, one at a time, and hire somebody to handle a task here and a task there. It's not even going to cost you a lot to do it that way. It's super inexpensive to do it that way. And by the way, you're going to hire someone and they're going to be great. And they're going to fix that task for you and get it done for you. And that's a help. And then you're going to hire somebody else to do a different task and they're going to stink and they're not helping. And you feel like you have to manage them, which means you have to replace them, by the way. And then you'll replace them and the second person will be good. And that task will be off your plate. And what you're doing is, you realize you're still not perfect. Your customer service is still not back to an A+. Okay. It's still bloody. It's a little less bloody. And now you're in the process of massive breakthrough. I've been coaching for a long enough time that I have tons of crazy stories of breakthrough with clients. Okay, tons of them. And I promise you that, the funny thing is when I ask them, hey, if you had to do it all over again, would you go back and do it all over again based on how far you've come now? Almost everybody has the same answer to that question. Already? They go, heck yeah, of course I would. Well, I don't know if I was going to go through that again. Well, I guess I would because of the result, but I don't know. Do you guys understand? Okay. I'm okay with B+ customer service or A-. I'm not saying you're not going to endeavor to give your best at all times. But I'm saying if your goal is perfectionism, right? Perfection is the enemy of progress is an old Tony Robbins quote, right? Your goal is not to create the perfect business so everybody looks at you and admires you. Your goal is to build the greatest business so that you have a bottom line with which to go and build your net worth outside of the business, which is a whole different conversation. And I'm not saying you shouldn't find great purpose inside your business. We all do, or we wouldn't love it and do it, right? I'm not saying you don't have value in adding value to people in a big way, but I'm just saying business is a vehicle. Okay. Let's move on. We got great teams have great chemistry. What the heck does that mean? Well, number 1, mutual appreciation and respect. Number 2, cycling through conflict faster. Number 3, space and grace. Number 4, challenges and trials. Don't be afraid of the Prigogine bubble. Let the bubble burst. Pop the bubble yourself if you have to, right? Can I give you a real life example? I had the crazy, federal case and all that kind of stuff. But since then, boy, have we been building businesses and my confidence level and little things don't bother me nearly as much. Another weird example for you guys. My mom passes away. We were very close. This is back in 2008. And almost immediately my marriage improved with my wife, Martha, because my mom wasn't there anymore. Now, this sounds weird. And I hope this comes out the right way, not the wrong way, but she was no longer there. My life was entirely now about my bride at this point for the first time. And it actually changed the nature of our relationship in a big and beautiful way. Not to mention that even in the months that my mom was passing, the way my wife interacted with her was beautiful. Interesting. But our marriage took on a different, and I know this is going to come out the wrong way, people, but I can't help myself. I'm just going to say what I think. In a weird way, my mom had to go for our marriage to really thrive. As crazy as it sounds, right? And I love my mom dearly, still do, right? Okay, let's move on. Next one. Last piece of this great teams have great chemistry puzzle. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. In my own company, my job is not to make the customer service on our products better for clients. I have other people that are definitely better at it than me. Okay? My job, I have only really 2 jobs. And you know what those 2 things are? Are you ready? They are the 2 things that I'm best at and the 2 things that coincidentally I happen to love the most. They also happen to be the 2 things that make, that are monetizable, that really make the best money too. They all correlate. It's interesting. Okay, should you be doing one thing or two things or whatever? I'm going to read you a little Peter Drucker quote. Okay, and I think I shared this one yesterday, but I'll share it again. Peter Drucker, okay, this is Drucker. He was on the cover of Business Week when he was alive many years ago, right? Drucker in Claremont, the Claremont Business Schools are named after him, the Drucker School of Management, okay, here in SoCal. Drucker said this. He was kind of a rock star of consulting and modern management. He said, effective executives do not splinter themselves. They concentrate on only one priority at a time, if possible. You guys have all heard the Keller book, The One Thing or whatever, right? The concept is important. It's a good concept. In fact, Drucker believed that he never encountered an executive who remained effective while tackling more than two priorities at a time. But you're doing 12. And then you do something really stupid. You go hire somebody to be an assistant, and then you start doing like, the job descriptions that I've seen from some of the coaches out there, I won't mention names, and it says to give them 30 things to do. And then you give them a list of 30 things to do and you've sunk them before they even started. You've effed the whole thing up. You screwed it up. You can't even do 3 things effectively, but you're going to get some kid who you just hired out of high school for minimum wage to do 30 things effectively. Are you out of your mind? Okay. What I'm about to say is going to get me in trouble all over the place, but the hiring kids out of high school for minimum wage, just because it's the path of least resistance, is the worst path for building a business. Don't read into it. Don't sue me. Are you all with me? Okay. I love kids, but they don't look like my clientele. And so they're not the best for dealing with my clientele. And there's no seriousness of purpose, no gravitas. There are exceptions, I know, but it's rare. Are you with me? Okay, let's keep going here. So Drucker had a great quote. He said, and you may want to write this down, do what you do best and outsource the rest. Do what you do best and outsource the rest. That's how you run an organization in one sentence or less. That's how you become a better business leader in one sentence or less. Stay in your lane. Do what you do best and outsource the rest. Real quick, I'll come back to that in a second. Robin, you asked about what was number 4. What was number 4? Number 4, we had mutual appreciation and respect. Cycling through conflict faster, number 2. Space and grace, number 3. Challenges and trials, number 4, which was that Prigogine bubble thing, right? Don't be afraid to keep applying pressure. And the last one, number 5, we're doing right now is stay in your lane. Okay. Do me a favor, Melanie, Darlene, I don't know, Robin, Lily, Sherry, do me a favor. Take a sec, go to the chat box and type in the one task or activity in your business that you think you're the best at. What's the thing you're best at? Rosalind, if you even want to type one in there for fun too, just type in one thing that you think you're really strong at. Okay. I'm going to give you my top 2. Not that it has to be 2. I do have my crazy client in Texas that I've had forever that's on the cover, front page of the New York Times, said something interesting about 2-3 months ago. He said, Dave, I don't think anybody should be doing more than one thing ever in our business, which is tricky because Roz multitasks and I multitask. But of the 31 people on our payroll, only 4 or 5 do any kind of multitasking at all. And the other 25 do one task only. Interesting. So if you're wondering how can a coach hire 31 people, it's because 25, 26 of them are part-timers. And a lot of them aren't even in the US. Okay, let's keep going here. Roz put relationship building as her best gift, if you will, right? So, do you guys understand that for me as a business owner who has Roz as a teammate, right? Or even for Roz as somebody building a company within a company, that the more time she spends in relationship building and the less time she spends doing anything else, it's better for her and me and everyone monetarily and even joy-wise. Darlene, marketing, right? And Darlene is like, if you're a broker who wants to attract realtors and you love marketing, great. That's what you must stay in that lane and use that as your attraction piece, of course, which you're probably already doing, of course. Melanie put creating systems. Excellent. Robin put technical knowledge of the industry. Excellent. Using it all day long, every day will make you happy and make you more money. Darlene, contracts knowledge. Excellent. Using that all day long. Melanie, running them, eventually delegating. Good. Lily, I'm a 1-month-old newbie, not good at anything. No, that doesn't mean you're not good at anything. How about this one, Lily? Try this a little differently. Ready? What's your best quality? What's your sweet spot in terms of, like, if we go back to the DISC assessment, right? I think you said you were like a CS or an SC. Relationships first, I think you said, or listener relationships and then task second. Give me, what do you think's your sweet spot? Sherry put knowledge of the industry and finding solutions options. Finding solutions and options is a good one. You know, there was an interesting study done by the famous consulting company Bain and Company out of Boston. And the study was, and I won't remember all of it, but the study was what makes the world-class sales professionals around the world, the highest producing sales professionals in Fortune 500 companies, what makes them different? Okay. Do you know what the number one answer was according to Bain and Company, the world respected, the renowned consulting firm? They said the ability to, the wording was something like to resourcefulness to utilize any tools at their disposal to find solutions to close transactions. In other words, those people will work every freaking department over and try every freaking option they have at their disposal. They use their cabeza to make solutions. Are you with me? Right? It's a great gift for selling or closing deals or whatever, right? Okay, Lily put considerate listening skills. Excellent. So, because Lily's on considerate listening, relationship building, right? What that means is a few things. It means Lily you'll probably want to get help on lead generation. And you might want to strongly consider even reach out to Rosalind if Roz wants to put her number again about, there are 6 lead channels that give you free leads. You just split the deal after the close. It's ridiculous that I tell every realtor, I'm like, you should be signed up for all of them. I don't really care what you do with it, right? It's ridiculous. There are, you might want help with the lead generation thing. You might want help on closing transactions or negotiations, at least in the beginning, right? You might want to, Lily, pair yourself up with somebody like a Melanie or a Darlene or whatever. Does that make sense? To help them with transactions and help them lever while you're learning and getting the self-confidence. How about this one, guys? Every other Wednesday, I do a small coaching group, not individual stuff, but a small coaching group. And every other Wednesday are realtors under 100K. And the only purpose of the group is to get them to 100K so I can kick them out of the group and they go to my Thursday call because I've got a Thursday group that's 100 to 300K. Got it? Okay. What's interesting is every couple of weeks, somebody from my 100 to 300K group will be my guest speaker on the under 100K group, not just with ideas, but also to tell them, can you help me with some transactions? You'll get a split or a payment. And the under 100K people are like, heck yeah. Does that make sense? I'll take some money and get some practice here while we're at it. Okay, so there are different ways to approach this. Back to the punchline. Stay in your lane. Now, in the beginning, when you start building a business, can you stay in your lane? And the answer is no. Why? Because you're wearing all the hats, right? In 2014, I was not just the coach. I was the lead generator, the follow-upper, the sale, which I didn't enjoy as much, the sales closer. I was the marketing guy. I was the bookkeeper. I was the janitor. You get the drift, right? Today, I only do 2 things. One thing I do, right, is I coach people because I love strategy, and that's based on my DISC assessment. I love results. I'm a DC, results mixed with attention to detail process. That's my natural, right? I'm not a natural business developer, high I. I'm not, okay? That's Roz's gift, okay? So I love people, I love business, I love coaching people through strategy to help them grow their businesses and all that. And I love doing it in my own business and for my own business too. I love doing thinking time sessions, and I love journaling, and I love brainstorming crazy ideas to improve my business. I've been in business for 8 years, okay? I don't need an extra nickel or two, if you know what I mean, at this stage of the game, but I can't help myself. I love working on ideas to break through the business. And, I don't know if I shared with you guys, but last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, I did a 1.5 hour Zoom call with Roz after hours on Zoom. We're just throwing stuff up against the wall, kicking tires, coming up with ideas. And then I don't know, bragging to my team a few days later that Roz and I came up with nothing. An hour and a half, we got nothing. Sometimes you do creative thinking time and it doesn't lead anywhere. Who cares? It's fun to do it and you keep doing it, and that's how you achieve breakthrough. Okay. All right, I'm done with that topic. Let's move on, shall we? The meeting, we got to wrap up with this one. The meeting, this is organizational behavior today. This is very, very important. The meeting rhythm of a great business or organization. Okay, let's talk meetings. Most people hate meetings. Death by meeting, they say, right? If I have another company meeting where they just talk and waste my time, I can't stand those meetings. However, you ready for the however? There is a fabuloso book. This one I strongly recommend for everyone. It's written by the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt. The book is called The $1 Trillion Coach. Okay? It is one of my favorite reads in the last 10 years. It's in the top 5-ish. And what's the book about? Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, wrote a book about his business coach after his business coach passed away. His business coach, his name is Bill Campbell. Campbell was on the board of directors of Apple in the early years of Apple. Oh, you know what Campbell's background was, by the way? This is pretty funny. He was the Columbia University football coach. He was your classic old school business coach whose every 10th word was profanity. Okay? He was not Silicon Valley. But here he is in Silicon Valley on the board of Apple many years later. And what does Apple do? They kick out Steve Jobs as the CEO, if you remember. Campbell was the only vote to keep Steve Jobs. No surprise, Jobs never forgot it. So when Apple asked for Jobs to come back years later, guess what he did? He took Campbell and made him the chairman of the board of directors of Apple. Got it? And because of that, Campbell started loading up on great clients for coaching, including the two founders of Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Marissa Mayer, who was the COO of Yahoo, and others. Okay, let's keep going here. Bill Campbell, Eric Schmidt's book, The $1 Trillion Coach, talks about all the things he learned from his coach. You guys would love it. It's really good stuff, especially if you want to get better at, oh, there you go, Roz, beautiful. The Leadership Playbook for Silicon Valley. It's really good for all of us, this book, because it's easy to read, easy to understand. There's nothing in there that's all fancy and frilly, and it applies even if you're just building a real estate team, okay? Or an organization. One of the things that Bill Campbell stressed was that meetings are among the highest forms of leverage for a business owner. It is not death by meetings. You just have to know how to run meetings. Meetings are amazing because you're investing only, let's say, an hour into your, like for me, I do my team calls on Friday mornings by Zoom. We did it this morning. My calls are typically an hour, right? I'm investing 1 hour every week into 30 people. And if I can use that hour effectively, I got 30 people moving. Does this make sense? The problem you have is people that don't know how to lead, don't know how to run meetings, do too many meetings. With all respect, there's a real estate chain that does some wonderful things out there, but boy, do they overdo meetings. Okay, let's skip that one for now. A lot of them do it. But meetings are powerful. Now, let's get to the meeting rhythm. If you guys, when somebody tells me, Dave, I want to run a business like a business owner, what are the basic skeletal steps I need to do? I tell them there are really only 2 things you need to do. Number 1, which we're going to get into on our next call on the 22nd. Number 1 is you must be a student of personal growth and leadership development first, right? I don't care if it's books, tapes, CDs, podcasts, coaches. I don't care what you do. You must be a student of the game of business and life. Because the more you learn, the more conversational content you have, and the more added value you have to give others. Please listen up carefully if you're just a realtor doing 3 deals a year. If you're feeding yourself with personal growth and leadership development, when you're on appointments with potential clients, you'll have way more conversational content. This matters. People want to be added value to. They want to be added to. Okay. Number one is work on yourself. But if you're asking me what's the second key essential ingredient of being a great business owner and looking like you know how to run a company and running it well, implementing a meeting rhythm as follows. Are you ready? Bill Campbell says daily huddles, weekly meetings, monthly offsite strategic / P&L sessions or strategic financial sessions. Okay. If you go to a Fortune 500 company, every great Fortune 500 company, every department does weekly meetings. It's ubiquitous. It's assumed. If you go to a great sales organization, they do weekly meetings. Okay. If they do, why don't you? And part of the reason is, I don't have a team. Yeah, you do. You got escrow, you got lender, you got title, you got transaction coordinator, you got somebody helping with stuff, right? Or, and which one of these three is most important? They're all important, but if you want a recommendation from me, a practical entrepreneurial recommendation, start with the weekly meeting. Then go to the daily huddles and add those on. And lastly, the monthlies. Let's talk briefly. I'm going to do this too short today. I apologize, guys, but I'm only going to do 5 minutes on this one because I want to give you time with questions and stuff or takeaways or whatever. The weekly meeting should have, this is just my own opinion, okay? There are 4 or 5 things that if you do a 45-minute to 1 hour weekly meeting and do it kind of as follows, and there's no one size fits all, there's no perfection, it doesn't have to look like this. You do it kind of like this, they're going to be very effective for you. Okay, number 1. This is a Bill Campbell thing. He likes to start every meeting, like when he was running the Google executive meetings on Mondays for Eric Schmidt and his team, he started with a trip report. Every person had to share stories, social stories from all the crazy stuff they did over the weekend. We do that on our team. Rosalind actually does that. She'll go, hey, Sarah E., how's your pregnancy coming along? How's Colorado, whatever. Okay, Amani, what's going on with the move to Montana? How's the family doing? How's the babies? She'll go around the horn with each of the people. David, how you doing? Where are you now? Are you with the girlfriend? Are you back home? And they'll each tell stories. Make sense? Okay. Why do you want to start a meeting with that? Because according to Bill Campbell, and we learned this from Campbell and we plagiarized it. Okay. Number 1, since everybody else talks first, you've already got them engaged. You will never hear your meetings suck anymore. The reason people hate meetings, death by meetings, is because you're doing all the talking and you're not interested in them. When they talk first and each one of them has to talk, they feel valued. And number 2, you're telling them loud and clear, I care about you and it's not just about the business. Okay, start with the trip report or start with the around the horn of what you've been up to, guys, or whatever. Number 2, reviewing the metrics. Reviewing the metrics. Can I show you a visual example, guys? I don't have screen sharing right now. Elsie, if you're still on and you can give me the screen sharing in a sec, I'll show it to you guys visually. If not, it's no big deal. But we go through the metrics. Every person's metrics, I read them out loud in front of, thank you, Elsie, I got it. I read them out loud in front of everybody. Here they are. This is what we did this morning on our weekly call. I went through the marketing metrics over here. You know, we got 70 new clients. Geesh, in March, we got 70 new clients. That's a lot, right? For coaching and our products. And here's where they came from. 43 here were from past clients and add-on products. And then speaking events, here's how many we did. And you can see the Orange County Association of Realtors, blah, blah, blah. Here's the statistics. Here's Sarah E., who runs our database product, and here's her metrics. And I read all the metrics, top to bottom. So I'll do it like I read it because I don't want them reading it. It takes too long and they waste time and they get off on storytelling. I read the metrics. And I say, okay, Sarah, let's do your numbers. You have this, and we have this with that, and 140 of this. And I never criticize anything. I just read through the numbers, and then I go, Sarah, you give us an update. What's working, what's challenging, whatever. And she'll tell a little bit of what's going on in her world and what's important. Everybody understand? And if it turns into a conversation briefly, that's fine. And then we go to the next person, and I'll go, okay, let's go through your numbers, Susie, and we'll read through her numbers, and she'll say, here's her update. And everybody talks a second time. Now, here's the key. This is the ultimate form of accountability. everybody on their team sees everybody else's numbers, and Dave reads off all those numbers in front of everybody with a great attitude and no criticism. Everybody got it? What could possibly be better accountability than that every week? Now, we have 2 rules. You have to show up to our meetings or we're going to look to replace you at some point. And number 2, Roz has a rule, you got to show up on video or we're going to replace you at some point. As crazy as it sounds, because we value the interaction. We want to see people's faces and body language, right? Okay, we review the metrics. Now, does everybody understand that you're going to have people that have crappy metrics or numbers? So what do? In my opinion, you treat them like gold and quietly look to replace them, and you replace them. And then your whole team knows that you're constantly replacing. Everybody on the team knows who's performing and who's not. And that is the mark of it. And then all great people want to be on teams where they know that you're going to be replacing the non-performers. They want to be on those teams. Does that make sense? Okay, number 3. Number 3 is the color commentary, right? It's when they're sharing also what's working, what's challenging, and they get to talk the second time. Number 4, this is very important. Pitch vision and share news. I don't do this every call, but every second or third call, I'll share what's going on with the business, what's new, what possibilities we have down the road, what's working, what's challenging. You know, I love sharing the vision, and you're constantly selling to your own constituents. I learned this when I was in Crescent Jewelers back in my 20s and early 30s. And I worked for a CEO who was great at this. Every meeting, he was always selling himself and the company to his own people. That's great culture. That's smart. Including warts and all, talking openly, but talking about this is what we're working on. This is where we want to go. Last one, very important. Teach something. You don't have to do this every meeting. I like doing this every couple of meetings. But I like taking things that I'm teaching my clients and sharing it with my own people. Why? Because some of them have other clients besides just us. They're not just working for us. Some of them, I don't care if we get on a conversation about liver cleanses or something like that. And here's some things I heard from some clients and some examples in this. I don't care if it's like me teaching meeting rhythm. Hey, by the way, guys, we're doing this, but we're not doing that. Maybe we'll do that someday, whatever. But I love to teach to my own organization. And here is why. Robin heard this yesterday. So did Sherry, who hopped off. For me, I'm going to give you a little bonus topic in the next 60 seconds. We're not going to explain it. You're just going to take quick notes, and then we're going to start the wrap-up process. Are you ready? How, Darlene, this is going to be important for you based on your message about recruiting. For all of us, how do you attract the best people possible? Or how do you retain the best people possible? Not that there's any guarantees in life. And number 3, how do you create the best possible culture? Does everybody on this call understand all 3 have the exact same answers? Because how you build the best culture is how you attract the best people, and how you attract the best people is how you keep them. So here's my version of, I don't care what works for you. What are the 5 things you need to do and I need to do to attract and retain the very best people and have the best culture? It's not perfect. It's just my own version of the world. Number 1, ready? Grow them by teaching. Grow them. I have a different way of wording this. Are you ready? Be the source or resource for your people's personal growth, and leadership development. Be the source or resource, singular, for your people's, that's S apostrophe, personal growth and leadership development. If you are teaching them stuff constantly in or out of the business, or even if you're bringing in resources to teach them stuff, why would they ever leave? You left organizations in the past, so did I. And we always joined that organization because we thought it was going to be a great escalator of growth in the beginning. And we were right in the beginning. We learned a lot, we grew a lot, we had more accountability, we had more authority, we did more things, we made more money, all this stuff. And then it plateaued and the growth dried up. I have people I coach, realtors included, who are working under brokers that they're better leaders than the brokers now. No kidding. I have brokers look, At some point, if the leadership plateaus above you, you're going to do what everybody else does, and you're going to have an affair on your business or company. You're going to look elsewhere. But you will never do it. I mean, I shouldn't say never, but you'll almost never do it if that organization is continuously taking you, growing you, teaching. So the number one key ingredient for bringing them and retaining them and all that in culture is be the source or resource of your people's personal growth and leadership development. Number two, competition and metrics. Share your numbers with everyone so everybody sees everybody's performance, and watch your best people want to come on board an organization like that, and they want to compete. Most of them like shared numbers, and they want to get better, and they want to be in those types of places. Number three, flexibility. I don't care when they work, where they work, how they work. We just try to keep simple results for everybody that they need to minimum do. Okay. This is 2021. This is not 1950 corporate America. Especially the next generation, they require flexibility in all things: geographic flexibility, time flexibility. Your best people don't want to be told when to do it, what to do it. They don't want to be micromanaged. Number four, appreciation. Okay. Praise people and they flourish. Criticize them and they shrivel up. Praise people and they flourish. Criticize them and they shrivel up. Be a constant organization of bringing out people's best and noticing and identifying it. And by the way, the people that are not performing, love on them anyway, teach them anyway, and quietly replace them. Number five, money. People want to know and believe they're in an organization where the money's going to continuously get better in the future. And the best way that by doing that is to have a track record of doing that with them in the past. I'm going to skip that topic for now. Okay. Folks, that was a breathless kind of charge on topics. What I want you guys to indulge me with, since we got a few minutes left, is go ahead, Melanie, Lily, Robin, Darlene, go ahead and type a takeaway in the chat box, if you don't mind. Something that caught your attention that maybe was important for you today, hopefully, right, from this short call. Or even a question, of course, if you got any questions on your mind, go ahead and shoot them in there. And you guys are, of course, welcome to reach out to us. You may have our numbers there, or I'll retype mine. But let's, start the wrap down with a little, just so I can breathe too. And we'll do a little bit of the, what caught your attention, or anything else that you want me to dig into with our remaining couple of minutes here. And don't hesitate, anything that was important for you. And if we don't have anything interesting pop out of that, don't worry, I can fill time, no problem. We got stuff, so. Okay, Darlene put, need help with coaching and staffing. Got it. Wonderful. And don't hesitate, even reach out to Roz if you want ideas, recommendations, that kind of stuff. The idea of that as a takeaway, need help with coaching and staffing. Okay, Melanie, Robin, great stuff. I'll get to you in a sec. Darlene, this one only applies to you because you're the only one dealing with this problem. I'm being sarcastic. Of course, this applies to everybody, right? I hope this is encouraging. I think this is. Listen to this. I'm a coach. This is going to come out all the wrong way, but just roll with me for a minute. I'm a coach who thinks coaching is stupid. Okay? I think it's a waste of time. Let me explain before you kind of get all weirded out here. I'm a business owner with, as I mentioned, 31 people or whatever on payroll. And as much as I love working with people to help them build their businesses, I hate coaching people. I don't want to babysit people. I don't want to micromanage people. I don't want to handhold them. I don't want to have to, I don't want to be, I tell people all the time, I don't want to motivate the unmotivated. Are you with me? And you should be the same way as a business owner. Let me explain so it's more clear. Ready, guys? Build your business without coaching your people. Oh, teach them when you have a weekly meeting, but that's it. There are 31 people on payroll. I don't want to develop any of them. And I'm a coach and I don't want to develop any of them. I think it's a freaking waste of time. All I want to do, it's easy to build a company. It's easier than you think. Are you ready, Melanie and Darlene and Robin and whatever? All you need to do, I know it sounds simple and I know it's supposedly more complex, but it's not really. You just have to hire. And we're not going to do this right now, but share minimum standard of performance, very simple. And hire and observe and then simply keep or replace. My job is not to burn all my sweat equity on developing my people and trying to make them better. No, I want to hire somebody who makes my company better. Are you with me? So I guess I'm saying this because when you say help with coaching and staffing, I want to encourage you that it's actually, you don't want to get sucked up into the development game where you make no money and then your own personal production stops. How stupid is all of that? I have a guy I'm thinking about, I won't mention names, who recently shared with me, he did 24 deals personal production, started building a team, and the next year his team only did 5 and he did only 8. All of that's stupid. Because he started babysitting people all year long. What for? You're supposed to hire people to advance your business. Okay. Melanie put, love the disc breakdowns and the info on the team meetings. Excellent, love it. And if you ever do the DISC assessment, like there's some great materials online too, you can print out and share with people, but everybody loves doing that in team meetings if you teach it to people and identify where they are. Okay, Robin put 90% of sales come from the 4th through 12th contact. I've definitely lost sales because of this, even though I knew more and did more work than the person who the client went with. Yeah, I get that one. So Roz and I have a dear friend who's a longtime client. She's a broker who does real estate and lending and escrow and flips and has real estate. She's an insurance and she's insane, right? And she has a very high net worth and she's a dear friend of ours. And she's on a call with us the other day. And she's like, Dave, this can never happen again. I'm like, what? And she's like, I had a recruit lined up who's good volume and it was a hot lead and it's on my list. And she ended up going to my same organization, but in a different group or whatever. And of course, you guys know where I'm going with this one, Robin. It's because from the time of their meeting, which supposedly they had a spectacular connection and she's definitely coming aboard, there was no follow-up. So guess what the outcome was after our subsequent conversations was? She is hiring somebody part-time to do nothing but follow up with her potential recruits. And she was like, what scripts should I give them? And I said, no scripts. When Roz started working with me, I told her, she asked me what scripts, and I said, no scripts. Just, you're just setting appointments. Just tell them, do you want to get together with Dave and talk about it or not? The more you know, the less appointments you'll set. You don't have to overcomplicate this. Okay. In other words, when you do follow-up, you don't have to know what to say and you don't have to have any scripts. Just check in with people. Roz, can you talk about that? Because you do a tremendous amount of follow-up.
I'm sorry, David. Oh, to talk about the follow-up? I thought about using scripts before, and but yeah, it's just being organic, natural, and you get your own flow. So people hire virtual assistants, and they say, "Well, do I give them a script?" I said, "We have scripts, but you don't want them to sound like a robot, right?
Yeah,
you want to be organic, just be yourself." So yeah, hope I answered your question, David.
Yeah, I think so. Like, guys, think about this, Robin. When you do follow up, you don't need a brilliant script to get the deal. You just need to interact with them. They just have to know you're still there, right?
Right.
I mean, we overthink it all.
I got to the point. Yeah, they don't. After the 4th or 5th, I just send out a question mark, happy face, and thoughts.
Yep. Yep.
That's it.
I love it. Melanie,
yes
look
or
at
no?
this one. Oh, I'm sorry, Roz. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's just getting the yes or the no.
Getting the yes or no. Look at this one. So this one's comical, right? Melanie put, I need to hire a follow-up person. Robin put, I also need to put a like how.
I have a perfect person for you, but yeah, go ahead.
Why don't my strong recommendation is text Roz, because whether you use us to get that follow-up person, because we do that for people. It's like, because anyway, or not. Talk to Roz about it because you'll get clarity on your options for how to do this. What we like, the only reason we started doing all these crazy products for people is because my own clients needed to do it and they still wouldn't even do it after I talked to them about it. You follow me? So it was like, okay, you need to delegate it. Well, then they didn't. So I said, fine, we'll hire the people and we'll train them what to do. And then you just delegate it to them or whatever, right? So reach out on that topic and see what you'll glean a lot from that. Okay, Darlene put, okay, to rephrase, I need help with directing my energies effectively. Been there. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, love it. Robin put, yep, LOL, good. Lily put, I didn't think personalities were important before. I guess I'll pay more attention to it now. Love it. Lily, this is to encourage you. You don't have to be a driver to have the best real estate business. I went to a seminar where there were 40 business owners and 3 owned chiropractic companies. And one was a driver and one was an influential and one was a conscientious. It doesn't matter, and they were all successful. It doesn't matter what personality type you are. It matters that you get the complementary help. Okay, Melanie put okay, great. Robin put thank you for the insight. Running tight on time. Yeah, we all are. Guys, have a wonderful weekend. For those of you that celebrate Easter and Good Friday and all that, happy holidays to you all, Passover, etc. And thank you, Elsie, for putting on the next class there, which will be a 1 hour. We'll squeeze in a lot in 1 hour. And I'll type in just one last thing. I'll just type in you got Roz's cell, so reach out to Roz on anything you may need or whatever. That's my cell number just in case as well. And Elsie, thank you again for hosting us with Orange County Realtor.